Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, whatever time zone it is, wherever you in the world, it is your Lore Saviour. And throughout my 6-ish years of doing content creation, as well as my 6 years in the TTRPG sphere, I have seen a plethora of character concepts in action, or just hypothesised, thrown out into the wind for anybody to do with whatever the fuck they want. And I've seen plenty of chronicle/campaign ideas with a very similar mindset as well. And I've seen many people put out their ideas looking for feedback. And some of them are more detailed than others, some of them are more engaging than others, some of it's more problematic than others. And it's always fun and interesting, trying to work out what the intention is, but it's also really cool just seeing people come together and sharing their thoughts and experiences, like how to develop ideas, what they could include, what to get rid of. And a very good example of this is on the Lore by Night Discord server, because of course I'm going to advertise my own Discord server for you chucklefucks. But you should definitely check it out, by the way. It's woke as fuck, so fascists, beware, you're not welcome. But it's really cool seeing like these little communities and microcosms of communities come together and like help each other out and support each other so we can have as much fun as humanly possible. However, I feel that a lot of the issues/problems, the mistakes mayhap, or anything that the user in question may be struggling with to develop their idea, often comes from one very simple thing. And it's taken that very old analogy of KISS. Keep it simple, stupid. I've missed a number out on my fingers, but that's okay. Maths was never my strong point, which for somebody who is autistic is fucking hilarious. I'm a disgrace to my kind. But regarding the issue at hand, keeping things simple, I feel this is actually a larger issue that I don't think people are addressing as much. It's not anything controversial, or it's not something that we should be like raising pitchforks and banner signs at, but I can see why people can have a tendency just to overload, over-explain, and just devote so much attention to their characters. Like, we all know that one player who will put their entire backstory and present a thesis of their character's young years to a games master, because that's what helps them get into the mood of things. That's what helps them to enjoy the roleplay, and that is totally fine. I'm not saying that, you know, it is invalid or you shouldn't be doing that. I think it's really cool that you are spewing so much creativity and thought processes into this character concept, even if I do as a game master find that a little daunting feeling. I have to remember every single fucking thing that happens, but players don't expect you to remember every single little bit, or rather, good players shouldn't expect you to remember every single little fucking thing. But paired this with things like Critical Role and other more formalised actual plays and other examples giving really detailed origins and backstories to their characters and plots, and having so many different ideas labelled out that they feel a bit stuck because it doesn't offer a lot of wriggle room to develop everything else, because you have developed probably every single asset of their backstory going in, and so it doesn't provide you with much progress from the actual game session itself, which is obviously a bit of an issue because we want to explore our characters' motives, we want to explore their emotions. And if you've got so much planned out already and knowing how every single facet is going to work, that can make things really difficult. So the first thing I would recommend here is, maybe if you're new, which is where this video is going to be focusing, hence the title of the video, is maybe don't plan everything out. Maybe leave some things vague. Like an example that I can remember that was fairly recent as if like mid to early June 2025 in the year of our Lord Talos, is that somebody was playing a Vampire the Masquerade character of Clan Zemisi, who are fleshly body crafters, and they were doing something, it was like World War II, Cold War sort of era. Don't worry, they weren't into that fucking fascist shit. It was a very detailed and well thought out spy, I think it was, and they planned so much out, and they didn't know what to do with it. So I just made the suggestion, maybe just strip things back, maybe take some elements away. Like the whole spy element is really good, but maybe remove some of the certainties of the backstory, like how the character was made, and you can make that shit up with the games master as you play. And that particular example brings in a very interesting problem where it's a historical setting. So it's kind of one's nature, if you're a really good dedicated role player and games master, to do that extra research to understand as much as you can about, in this case, World War II or the Cold War, whichever one that it was, to know the cultures of what people like, etc. and so forth. With something like Vampire the Masquerade, your choice of clan, the vampiric bloodline as it were, often is embedded with a lot of lore and metaplot. So trying to think how that would work with this other example as well can be a very tricky thing to do indeed. And again, I just want to encourage you lot just to strip things back, just to keep it simple, stupid. Because you may not know everything about World War II or the Cold War in this example, or whatever the setting it is in question. But your games master, chances are, is going to know a bit more than you do. And if not, you can just fucking make shit up, because weird shit happens all the fucking time. And, you know, again, if you don't know something, your character might. So if you don't know something, you can always ask, would my character know this? Does my character know that? The games master will go, I don't know. Roll on it. See what happens. Maybe they may know fucking shit about that subject, or maybe they are fucking doctorate and could educate the storyteller, games master, whatever, about it. Which is fun, because it then adds to the roleplay, because you get fed the information and then you can interpret that and feed that back to the players in your character's voice, and you learn something about your character at the same time, a bit about their intelligence, how they articulate, rather than just having every single facet planned out. Which does mean that you have to trust the games master and the rest of the players to let you explore your ideas freely, rather than just having things dictated to people. You know, and I don't think people do that with these character concepts that go on forever and ever, or even the character concepts that are just very rich in their own personal lore and metaplot. Like, just strip things back, just make things easy on yourself so you don't have to remember as much, you can just focus on playing, or what powers you have and abilities and all the rest of it, rather than trying to recall that very specific piece of information about your brother's, aunt's, cousin's mountain chicken frog, or you know, something to that effect. There is also absolutely nothing wrong chasing after stereotypes sometimes if you're absolutely stuck on something original, or don't feel creative enough to create something that you think is going to be original. Like, take a stereotype and just run with that and see where you and your imagination and the scenario and everything else surrounding the character changes and moulds them. Like with Dungeons and Dragons, maybe you could be just an overly flirtatious bard, but what could you do to make things differently? Well, they could be queer, so they could go after a specific type of person. Maybe it's all just a front. Maybe they're just really fucking shy and it's all just a big old act, and when they actually get into bed with somebody, or you know, a date or something, they fucking clam up because they don't know what they're doing. They're just like a all talk no action sort of thing. To use a Vampire the Masquerade example, you know, just to bring things back on brand for a moment, maybe they are of clan Toreador, you know, and the idea for them that they're artists, they're painters, they just love art in all of its forms. Okay, so maybe they're a painter, right? And they're very snobby about high-end art or something like that, and you think, okay, so this one knows how to paint. Maybe they don't. Maybe they're just fucking shit, which then brings into a lot of questions of like, why did their sire choose them if they're shit at art? Maybe they're an art critic, because critics often don't know what they're talking about. I do, because I'm truly based, but you get the idea. Like, there's so many different things you can do depending on the game and setting, just to bend and break things. And there's the idea that if you pick a specific class that's stereotypically good at something, like the bard and flirtatious stuff that I mentioned, or I don't know, a warrior who's good with a sword, maybe choose somebody that's not very good with that. To bring things back into Vampire the Masquerade land, there's a Vampire the Dark Ages book called House of Tremere, and the Tremere of vampiric wizards, essentially. And one of my favourite characters in that is, I forget his name, but it's this chucklefuck here, who doesn't know any magic. He's just a really fucking good with a sword. He's their guard, essentially, or head guard, or whatever, which is pretty neat. In less words, flip the script, mate. Like, provide enough quirks and twists to make it engaging for you, but don't feel that it has to be, like, so rich in a narrative that you might as well just be writing an old book if that's how you feel things are going. Like, don't feel that you have to match the same energy that you see online and on actual players and maybe whatever your fucking players are doing. You could just be an adventurer that's on this quest because they like money. Whether it's just to put food on the table, or maybe they just want to be a fucking star and don't really care about the nobility of things. Maybe you have even less of an idea than that. That you have some ideas about what to put in their stats, and then you can work out why they seemingly lack a personality or don't talk that much or talk too much. You can work things out with the Games Master, and sure enough, the Games Master's going to have some ideas of their own, and then they can broach you about that, and you can see whether that makes sense for you. Basically, what I'm saying is that sometimes, well, a lot of the time, you don't provide much wriggle room for the Games Master with your rich narratives, and it doesn't make the role-playing very exciting or engaging. That it may seem like all these other players are having a lot more fun than you, but you just don't seem to be getting anywhere because you've hinted elements of your character and their backstory to be included, but they may not be included the way that you desire because it's so set in stone that it doesn't really allow for much wriggle room to happen. And as I said, there's lots of valid reasons for all these things to happen and all these methods of play. It's not right, it's not wrong. And those who can make those things work are probably better games masters than I am. Which isn't me being bitter about it, that's just a fact. There've been people who've been playing these games a lot more than I have and a lot more experience under their belt. But sometimes I feel that we don't have to make everything like a mini fucking melodrama with our characters. We can just have a really simple idea and just roll with that, literally, and just see what happens. And that kind of goes back to you games masters as well. Don't feel you have to throw every single bit of the fucking meta plot players. I know that I've said this in 2 separate videos about this subject matter, which are going to appear in cards at the end of the video, but don't overwhelm your players, especially if you know that they're new. Using Vampire the Masquerade as an example, you've got a setting with the Camarilla, the princes, the primage and the sheriffs, and all this deep political nonsense, and all this ancient history with supernatural vampires, ghosts and all the rest of it. It's pretty cool on the surface, but how much of it is it really necessary to tell the story that you want to tell with your players, and vice versa? What do they want to experience out of the games? If your players want a load of fun, action-packed adventures and dramas, don't do a high-end Masquerade political ball scenario, that may not gel as well. Might be in a one-off bit if you're much grander action scenario to challenge the players, but doing that all the way through when they wanted a bit of action, it's probably going to piss some people off. And of course the same works the other way around as well. And with players, don't feel that you have to know every single bit about the lore and the setting to make your character work, because again, using the word of darkness, most vampires won't know that shit, and even less give a fuck. And even the elders and the princes, the most ancient of vampires in an area, are not going to know everything either. They'll know a bit more than you, but what they'll know is just through their own bits of experience. They're not going to be massive fonts of knowledge per se. In fact, a lot of them aren't going to. Whereas with other settings, use Cyberpunk for an example. Not everybody's going to know all the different politics of how the city was formed. But let's face it, do you know everything about your city? Do you know how it got to the bit where it is today? How far back do you have to go to make it seem lore accurate and engaging? Let's all just keep things simple, folks. Don't feel it has to be deeply rich narratives, because it sort of oversteps each other. It becomes a bit suffocating because you run out of things to develop because you've already developed everything. If you think about any fucking story with a hero, they start off small and by the end of it they're vanquishing gods. Well, that's a more JRPG sort of thing, but even so, they've got stories and backstories, little hints of their backstory that can be developed, but it's not all developed. There's room for growth, is what I'm saying. And whilst it can be cool to have all this knowledge and to use as all the different source books as you can, which I've been guilty of too. I ain't perfect, as close as I am to sheer perfection. I ain't perfect. It's something that I've done on occasion. It's something I've seen many times before. There's one person on a World of Darkness focused Discord server who was playing a Vampire the Dark Ages game, who is very infused by Vampire and wanting to learn as much as they can, although I don't think they're very good at listening to feedback, but that's a different matter entirely. But they were talking about cults, running a cult, setting one up or influencing one, etc. and so forth. And if you have any experience with Vampire the Masquerade and the World of Darkness, there's a lot of material out there that's involved cults, and cults in general is a very nuanced thing. It's not just robes and hoods and torches and satanic rituals. There's a lot more fucking substance to be had, and I don't know if said player is going to pursue that idea at all, but if you're still learning and trying to work things out, don't make things more difficult for yourself. And also, your ideas may not work for a given game, because if you spent all this effort like putting in this idea and what you want to do, only just the games master to turn around and say, this ain't going to work, mate. Great idea, but it's not going to work. Some people are not going to take that too well. And anyway, it's going to be a little frustrating just on the fact that you feel that you've done something wrong or misunderstood the task, and now you've got to come up with a different idea and put another character concept on the fucking back burner. Hello, future editing lore here. Look, there is me in the past that you've just listened to. Now, throughout this entire video, I'm kind of skirting round the idea, but don't actually touch upon it directly, is that when you're making a character for any sort of TTRPG setting, be it a long campaign or one shot, try and engage with the setting rather than trying to force characters into a setting that doesn't work, which is also another issue, because whether you are engaging with a setting or you just want to make that character concept work, trying to force things into that isn't going to do you a lot of favours either, because that's going to make things very complicated for both you to try and work out how can I make this work within this setting when the two don't work very well with each other. But it's also going to put a lot of legwork for the games master trying to work out how can this now fit within the world setting rather than doing something that's a bit more organic. And I know I've touched upon this before. I believe the video I'm referring to here is a little section in my Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines actual play how-to, which is going to be on a card somewhere right now. It's all about friendly cooperation, so yes, you can come up with these really cool ideas, but just make sure that it fits within the world setting proper, and you work with your fellow players and the games master to see what works. So if you do want to write some microfiction, you can make it make sense rather than just like horseshoe a character concept in there. It's the equivalent of putting a circle in the square hole, or vice versa if you're so inclined. Like, just keep things all loosey-goosey, like your mum. So my brothers, sisters and everything else in between of Christ, don't give in to the pressure feeling that you have to have such rich narratives of your characters, your stories, and any other little TTRPG thing that I've mentioned. Well, I suppose we could extend that with like TTRPGs and dice. You see a lot of people like really fancy high-end dice who've got like these really cool setups going with Roll20 and all these other virtual tabletop systems, but you don't need all that stuff. You can just keep it really fucking simple. Pen, paper, dice, pencils, physical or simple app. It doesn't have to be some of that high-end bollocks. It doesn't have to emulate all the other seemingly cool shit you find online. Whether it's gear, whether it's tools, narratives, chronicles, you can just have things really simple and then just flesh things out as you go along. It's more organic, it's more fun. Also, it's less fucking stressful because games are supposed to be a lot of fun. And I know that we see and occasionally participate either directly or watching from the sidelines regarding drama. This is supposed to be a lot of fun. There isn't supposed to be any of that sort of hoo-ha's and all the rest of it. Just try and keep things simple if you can, and then just have fun letting the games master and players help you shape your character to make them better fit into the world with each other. And you can look back on some memories and thought, oh wow, I can't believe they started out like this, look where they are now, and just see how much wriggle room that you have. And again, I just want to emphasize that if you are the sort of individual that does have a lot of fun and find it easy for you to engage with the roleplay, writing out a lot, by all means go for it. But I think it does apply to you lot as well, that you don't have to think of every single little fucking asset, you know? Like, do leave some gaps in there. Write things that happened in their childhood, but miss a couple years. Like, write the bits that are important for the game and the development of the character. Don't feel that you have to write out everything. Because in my opinion, as subjectively, objectively based it is, I don't think it's necessary. And you're just making a lot more work than yourself, but just find the balance that's right for you, but just, you know, keep things free, fairly simple, and just have fun with it, because that's what we're all here for, really. And I think that is all I have to say on the matter. Give me some of your very simple RP and storytelling advice in the comments below, just so we can try and help people engage with the setting in a more friendly, approachable manners without overcomplicating the pudding too much. Like, don't do what I've just done and waffle on about the same point for well over 10 minutes now. Do better, be better than your Lord and Saviour. As difficult as it might be, you know, the near perfection thing that I mentioned earlier on. Anyway, yeah, let's have a conversation in the comments below. Now, whilst you're down there, do check out the various books I've left in the description for you to go and purchase to include in your games, both homebrew and official material. Now, if you do that with the links I've provided, I get some of the money back because I'm an affiliate on TTRPG, and it allows me to provide some really cool, awesome content like this. So you get books, I get books, and you get free content. So it's a win-win chicken dinner situation for you, my friendos. But what if you've already got those books, or maybe you don't like them? What you can do instead is copy the magical affiliate code in the description and paste it into the URL of any book on TTRPG, the Storyteller's Vault, the DM's Guild, or any other one of those sister sites, and I get some of the money back that way as well. So you can support me financially if you can, but if you can't, that's absolutely fine, because I know times are hard and all of that. But what you should definitely do regardless is give the video a little cheeky thumbs up to tell me that you like it, subscribe to the Lore by Night channel, and share this video with any and everyone who loves what I do, and I'll see you on the next upload, whatever that may well be for you. And until next time, farewell.